So another ranked, unranked matchup that some people might have circled as an upset pick is Tennessee hosting Florida. The only reason, and I mean the only reason, you would look at this matchup on paper and say, hey, Tennessee better watch out. Florida could do this. I guess there are two reasons. Number one, Florida's been playing better football. They beat UCF handily last week. They've been playing better. Doesn't mean they're a good team yet. Just means they've been playing better. But number two, and this is the bigger one that Vols fans, I'm sure, are well aware of, Florida's just kind of found ways to beat Tennessee when they shouldn't. Last year, Tennessee fans probably would have told you, no way we're losing to Florida. Or maybe they would have said, we're going to Florida. This is going to be tricky. Might depend on who you ask. But Florida's had a history of just finding ways to beat Tennessee. I don't think they do that here. So Tennessee, similar to Alabama, went on the road as a more than 2 touchdown favorite, and they lost the game outright. And it was a pretty sizable upset. And I thought Tennessee would struggle last week. I didn't think they'd lose. Thought they'd found a way to win, especially once they went up 14-3 and Arkansas was able to come back. But you come back home, you're playing a team that is not as good as the one you faced the prior week. Yeah, I think now South Carolina and Vanderbilt, I think, are closer than Arkansas and Florida, but at the very least, it's comparable. I feel the same way about the Vols here as I do about the Crimson Tide. I think this is come back home and make a statement game. This is come back home, remind yourself, remind your fans, remind the country, for that matter, that you're capable of pushing for a national and SEC championship. Maybe not necessarily in that order, perhaps in the opposite order, perhaps. Tennessee is favored, according to our friends over at FanDuel, by 15 points. Now, that number makes me go, over 2 touchdowns, rivalry game. Is it really going to get to that point? Is it going to get out of hand the way that I think Texas and Oklahoma could? Yeah, I do. It's 15.5 right now. Give me the Vols to win and eke out a cover. I mean, they'll squeak it out. Tennessee, 28-10. Vols defense shuts down the Florida offense, which I have not been impressed with this year. I won't be surprised if Florida ends this game with a single-digit number of points. 28-10, give me Tennessee to win and to cover. How about the game of the week in the SEC? Texas, Oklahoma, or is it Ole Miss, LSU? I don't know. Where did your mind go? My mind goes to Red River, of course, because it's a big rivalry. And I love Texas in this spot. I think they're just a better team across the board. Both teams are coming off a bye. There's no home field advantage here, of course. This is one of the most fun games of college football to watch every single year. Every single year, we all love watching it, no matter what team you are a fan of. You could be a fan of the UMass Minutemen, who host Missouri this week. Can UMass cover 27.5 at home? You know what? I'll say that they can. Missouri wins 35-17, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. But Texas, Oklahoma, I love Texas in this spot. I really do. I like the Longhorns coming into the year. I have liked them more since I've seen them play on the field. They have, aside from Mississippi State, taken care of teams that they are better than. And don't let the rankings fool you. Oklahoma's a top 20 team. They shouldn't be. They are not the 18th best team in college football. This is the second start for Michael Hawkins, his first in Red River. That's a lot for a young guy to handle against a Texas defense that I think is one of the most underrated units in all of college football. So I like Texas to win the game 31-10. I like the Oklahoma defense and the way they played against Tennessee a few weeks ago, albeit in a loss. That game was at home. This is a neutral site. It's truly a 50-50 crowd, which is why it's such a unique environment and a fantastic spectacle for this beautiful sport. I think Texas wins. I think Quinn Ewers coming back jumpstarts the offense. Maybe he's a little rusty in the first quarter, but it's not exactly his first time playing college football or doing so in the burnt orange with Steve Sarkisian as his play caller. I take continuity over change every single time. Hawkins, second start. Quinn Ewers, not his second start. His third Red River. I think Texas wins that game big. And I don't know that Oklahoma keeps it close because I don't think that. I think if Texas comes out and plays well, there's nothing Oklahoma can do. Oklahoma, it's not going to completely shock me if they keep it close because, well, it's a rivalry game. Crazy things happen. But that's all you're really going for. I think that Sooner magic kind of got used last year when Texas had every opportunity to win and found a way to lose the game, and Oklahoma won it, to their credit, to be sure. I don't think Texas lets it get that close, 31-10. Ole Miss to LSU. talked about this game a lot this week because it's such a fascinating matchup. You have a couple of coaches that, as Matt Moscona of Locked on LSU talked about on yesterday's show, really have incredibly safe seats because if Lane Kiffin were to go 9-3, miss the playoff this year, would Ole Miss fans really revolt and say, well, he's no good, he's not? I don't think so. If Brian Kelly loses this year, or if he misses the playoff this year and loses this football game on Saturday, are you going to revolt and say, I need to fire him? Like, it's year 3. It's a long contract. It's a big buyout. Like, probably not. I think Ole Miss is a better team on paper. I think they found themselves last week against South Carolina, which doesn't sound like a lot, but ask LSU whether it's easy to go to Columbia and just roll the Gamecocks the way LSU did, or the way Ole Miss did, sorry. I think this is a really fun football game. I do not believe it looks like it did a season ago where it's back and forth and offense and there's just no defense being played anywhere. Death Valley will be awesome. Love me some Tiger Stadium, but give me Ole Miss to go in. They're favored by 3.5. I think the Rebels go in, make a statement, and prove they are worth preseason hype here with this win. I think LSU's a good team. I don't think they're a great team just yet. I think they have a great quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier. I think Ole Miss is capable of being a great team, and I think they prove that again this week. Ole Miss wins 27-20. Vanderbilt travels to Kentucky. I think Vegas is overreacting. I think Vegas is overreacting to Vanderbilt. They're underreacting to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt went to Columbia, Missouri, took Missouri to overtime, beat Alabama straight up, and Kentucky's favored by around 2 touchdowns? No. Does Kentucky win the game at home? I think so. Mark Stoops got a pretty good team. They've played some good football this season. I don't think they cover that number, though. Kentucky wins 24-13. I like that Kentucky defense a lot, and the way they've played this season, I don't think they're going to just completely blow out Vanderbilt here. I do think Kentucky wins, though, because they are at home. And lastly, in the SEC, since I've already picked Alabama to rout South Carolina, and I think Missouri will win, but I'll take UMass to cover, because why not? Why not take UMass to cover? Could be a bounce-back spot for Missouri. Ranked 21st in the country right now. I don't think they're the 21st best team in college football. Georgia hosting Mississippi State. Now, Mississippi State, once upon a time this season, Arch Manning was quarterback, pushed Texas. What do you think the line is on this game? What do you think the line is on Georgia hosting Mississippi State? 33.5. Hey, oofda. That's a big number. That's a big number. A lot of people gave up on Georgia. Not me, my preseason national champion. I haven't wavered off of that. I didn't after they lost to Alabama. I thought they'd lose that game before the season. I thought they'd lose that game week of. They did. This is kind of playing out mostly how I expected Georgia to play this season. I think as the year goes on, you see great coaches start to have their team play better and better football. They picked up a solid win against an Auburn team that's not as bad as their record would indicate. Last week, 31-13 was the final score. I don't know if Mississippi State's getting to 13 points. I really don't. This is a rebuild year for the Bulldogs and Jeff Lebby, who could do an all right job. I don't know where they win a game the rest of the season. Their schedule is not exactly a walk in the park. They do have UMass later, so they'll win that. But, I mean, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Tennessee, Missouri, Ole Miss. I think you got a 2-10 season incoming here for Mississippi State. So I think they lose this game. Give me Georgia to win and cover. 42-3. I think the Bulldogs defense shows up in a big, big way.